is a truly global language that can change our perceptions about the world we live in. In today's lineup, Painting for Peace, how Myanmar exiles remember their homeland. Street theatre with a social message in Mozambique. And building sandcastles in India.
Hello and welcome to Arts World. I'm Barbara Serra here on the River Nile in Cairo, the capital of Egypt, known locally as the Mother of the World. Now, to talk of Arab art, there's no place quite like Cairo. We've come here to meet one man determined to preserve the authentic sound of the Orient, the sound of an instrument called the oud.
To me, the oud is like a part of my body, like my hands or my tongue. It's one of my senses.
The oud is one of the earliest recognized string instruments, and it's inspired variations from the European lute to the guitar. Believed to have originated more than 4,000 years ago in Iraq, the oud was adopted across the region. For Iraqi musician Nasir Shamma, the oud is more than just a musical instrument. It's the way that he expresses the suffering he sees in today's world.
The oud is my identity and my voice, but it has also become the voice of a community, the voice of the Iraqi situation and the people who are victimized in Palestine and everywhere in the world. It no longer speaks only of beauty, now it also transforms ugliness into beauty.
It wasn't the first time Shamma was inspired by the tragedy of conflict. He was so moved after his friend lost an arm in the Iran-Iraq war that he developed a one-handed method of playing the oud.
I wanted him and the 70,000 young people handicapped during the war to regain hope. It was a gift from me to them.
This is Mohammed Ali Street, once home to Cairo's musicians and dancers. The artists may all be gone, but this street is still one of the best places to buy Oriental musical instruments. The number of craftsmen making instruments here has dwindled over the years. Many have moved into the more profitable line of business in low-budget furniture. But Sami Abdelazim is still here. He's been making ouds in this tiny workshop since he was a teenager. Despite the changes over the years, he says demand for the oud is still high.
The oud is becoming more popular now. Before, people would keep the same oud for up to 20 years, but now they want a new one every day.
It is said that each oud contains the soul of its maker.
I haven't just inherited this business. I love the oud and devote all my time to it, and I enjoy thinking of innovations.
It was Nasir Shamma's love for the oud that inspired him to fight for its future. In 1998, Shamma opened the first school or home of oud right here in Egypt. 10 years on, Shamma has 4 schools of oud around the region, with dozens of musicians graduating every year.
Our goal was to pass on our knowledge to new generations, because most professional solo artists don't actually teach. When a musician passes away, our loss is even greater. His project ends the moment he dies. When they graduate, my students have to vow to teach 20 more people. And so, just like I taught them, they each have that responsibility to carry on. So you'll see in years to come how many oud players we'll have.
Shamma's dream is not only to revive interest in the oud, but in all Eastern instruments and music. So far, he's received an encouraging response.
Every year, the audience increases. Younger generations are becoming even more interested in traditional music. People think that the youth of today only like jazz and pop, but in reality, they're learning to play these instruments. The world has listened to jazz, classical and pop music for long enough. Our ears need a new sound.
Along with some of his students, Shamma formed the Oriental Orchestra. It's an ensemble of over 60 musicians who performed for the very first time in Abu Dhabi in April 2008. The instruments they play are all from the East, and some have been in danger of dying out. It's all part of his plan to revive the traditional sound of the Orient. This is only the beginning of his musical mission.
We want to show the entire world, through music and the arts, that this region has a rich culture and its soul is still alive. My dream is to plant a musician in each home. I want to see an army of musicians.
In our next story, we visit two men who live in Australia as political refugees. They were both active in pro-democracy uprisings in Myanmar and were forced to flee. Well, now they continue their struggle for human rights and democracy, but this time using painting and music as their weapons of choice.
肉啊，给门看女伢追很错。 μια就论表，人潮里头月娃，你为嘛追论变为跑归路的？
Because I was involved in the struggle for democracy, I paint images that are born of Burma's revolution.
月娃里追家的马，是灭边难，这片米都看啊，农家拉的苗子。
In 1988, I remember people marching along, the sounds of gunshots and armored vehicles. I saw soldiers marching toward people and I heard gunshots. People got hit and were hurt. They fell. I heard the sound of dying people.
During the 1988 revolution, I was in the countryside. We got the news that they had started shooting in Rangoon, and thousands of students were killed. Where I was, in Wayang Maya, police started shooting at demonstrators too. These demonstrators and the police shooting them knew each other from the tea shops and the markets. When I saw police shooting their friends and colleagues, it made me feel really sad inside. That's why I believe this government must be brought down. When I arrived in Australia, I looked outside and I thought, wow, I'm in heaven. The houses all have red roofs. In my mind's eye, I see images of growing up in my homeland. I think about those times. For example, my childhood home, and our village street, and the stream where we used to row at the back of our house. The Shui Dagon Pagoda. When I look with an artist's eye, these images come to me like photographs. I miss those things.
Whilst there is no change in the Burmese government, until there is democracy, we can't go back. For that, I am sad. We have to try in every way to get democracy. One way is to use my music. The other way is armed struggle. I'm ready to do either one.
We're never going to give up. We'll keep fighting until we win the revolution.
We never give up.
To take a quick break, but do stay with us because we'll be visiting a street theatre in Mozambique and meet the artist in India creating art on the beach. Do join us after the break. Hello and welcome back. I'm here in Cairo, the beating heart of Arab art. And as you can hear, the mesmerizing sound of the oud is as popular as ever, and so are the artists. Now for our next story, let's go to Mozambique and meet a group of street performers there who are also pulling in crowds. They're called the Grupo de Teatro do Oprimido, or the Theatre of the Oppressed, and they're using their art to tackle subjects which are often taboo.
Alvin Kosa grew up in the coastal town of Maputo, here in southern Mozambique. A culture rich in theatre tradition, he began to act as a teenager. But it wasn't until tragedy struck his family that acting became more than entertainment to him. He decided that theatre could play an important role in fighting the social taboos around HIV, and so his interest in Theatre of the Oppressed, or GTO, was born.
As Africans, we live with our extended families, husband, wife, and other family members. In our house, I had a cousin who was a trader and brought goods from South Africa to sell here. Then for some reason she got sick, but at first we didn't know what was happening to her. Things started getting worse until she couldn't do anything.
Alvum's cousin died. What shocked the family more than her HIV status was the silence she'd kept about her illness. Like many HIV sufferers here, she'd been afraid to confront the issue.
People here are very private about things. Sexual relationships, orientations, and health status within the family are not discussed. Not even between husband and wife. It's considered taboo and so can't be spoken about or argued. This makes it a breeding ground for the spread of HIV.
After hearing about a theatre project developed by Brazilian theatre director and writer Augusto Boal, Alvum travelled to Rio de Janeiro in 2001 with the help of UNESCO to learn more, to GTO in Maputo.
For me, GTO creates an opportunity for the audience to express themselves through interaction with the actors. We create a forum for open and honest debate. When everyone has had the opportunity to share their experiences, they come to realize that their problems are the same as one another's. And it's only through this realization that we will be able to find a workable solution.
As the group's coordinator, Felix Bruno runs a GTO acting workshop for young students here in this garage. He takes the boys and girls through their paces, teaching them the principles of interactive theatre. And it's through them that he finds the stories that will eventually end up on stage.
The students who make the plays are actual members of the community, and they live with these problems every day. They come to the workshops and we share their problems. I take their stories and together we create plays
Here, on Maputo's fringe, this small marketplace is the stage for the group's latest performance. Maida plays a woman who contracts HIV and wants her husband to get tested.
The play that was presented at the market was about a conversation I overheard between two of my neighbors. It's about a woman they knew from the neighborhood whose husband was always away from home, probably with other women. I took on the role of this woman. I took my inspiration from her, and I was trying to make the people watching understand her situation and find a solution.
As part of their training, these young actors are taught how to encourage the audience to take part.
I took part in the play because I wanted to show her that she must have courage so that she can have the strength to help her husband to go and get the test done.
In a country where most people are illiterate and access to radio and television is limited, theatre has proven the best way of reaching them.
People in the community can identify with the people on stage. And because of that, they accept the message that is being conveyed to them as opposed to an outsider coming in and telling them what to do. When we invite people to participate, it gives them a sense of self-respect. We can in turn learn from the community.
And it's the lessons learned here in this tiny garage that are helping break down social stigmas, one young mind at a time.
GTO gives me hope and strength to confront life within my community. It teaches me how to avoid falling victim to the problems that many of our people face.
In our last story, we meet an artist in India who practices a rare form of sculpture using sand. Working on the beach, he creates elaborate and breathtaking works of art, often to the wonder of the many onlookers. He's also a passionate environmentalist, and he uses his sand art to highlight issues such as global warming.
Nature has often played the artist's muse, but when nature itself becomes the art, the results can be truly inspiring. This is how Sudarshan Patnaik's typical workday begins. The beach, a mound of sand, and a mind bubbling over with imagination. By the end of today, this sand heap will be pared down to reveal the work of art that lies within. Brought to life by India's most accomplished sand sculptor. The temple town of Puri in the East Indian state of Orissa has attracted Hindu pilgrims for centuries. And it was on its very beaches that young Sudarshan first realized his calling.
The beach is a huge canvas for me, the sand as well as the water, which is equally important. When the two come together, they form a unique medium for sculptures.
With no teacher or art school to guide him in this unique discipline, Sudarshan taught himself the art of sand sculpting.
The process involves collecting sand and dumping water on it. This is essential since sand is a soft medium that can get easily blown away. So we apply large quantity of water, and once it hardens, we begin carving.
Sudarshan uses neither blueprints nor prefabricated models, using only the most basic sculpting tools and his bare hands. His artistic mission is to highlight the most pressing social causes.
I choose current topics for my sculptures. As an artist, I try to use my art to create awareness, whether it is HIV/AIDS, global warming, or polio. My aim is to use my art to spread the message and connect with people.
As for this sculpture, It will be dedicated to the cause closest to his heart, global warming.
I have decided that this year I will highlight the cause of global warming and create awareness about it through my medium. Even in my country, we are beginning to see the effects of global warming. The beach has suffered erosion. If this continues, we will no longer be able to make sand sculptures.
In the last decade, Sudarshan has taken his message into the international sand sculpting arena. He has won prizes at sand sculpture competitions in Italy and Germany. He uses the prize money to earn a living and to fund his art. Sudarshan's international success has earned him a small but loyal following, leading him to establish the Golden Sand Art Institute, a school for aspiring sand sculptors. Under the open skies of their sandy classrooms, students ensure Sudarshan's legacy does not get blown away with the wind. Evening approaches, and the sculpture requires a few final touches before it's ready to be unveiled. For Sudarshan, the creator, this has been a labor of love. Yet, unlike other artists, his work will not endure. As the tides rise, his masterpiece will dissolve into the ocean.
Everything is temporary. Even this life is temporary. And so is art. Every day we try to create something new. Then we look to the future and think, what can we create tomorrow?
It's nearly 3 a.m. and Cairo is still very much alive. But from us, that's all for this week. From here in Cairo, a city that never sleeps, we hope you've enjoyed this episode of Arts World.